There's going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
You know what? What can one of these quarterbacks or wide receivers do for me this year to make a wager? It's got to be the running conditions there for Jaden Daniels.
In regards to Jaden Daniels, you know I was on him in regards to the Heisman Trophy. I actually think he's going to do it on the ground, through the air, 40 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, playing in Cliff Kingsbury's offense where he wants to spread it and throw it. I think he's going to put up dynamic numbers.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
New to the Live Golf Plus app. Watch Live Golf any way you want it. Follow any group. Replay any shot. Anytime, anywhere. Any questions? Watch Live Golf live and on demand.
He had 4 grabs in the first half for just over 30 yards, was injured, came back in briefly, and then had to be carted off.
We were pessimistic on Puka Nakua's injury to the same right knee, of that being a nothing, just a bursa, and that's it, as per Sean McVay. We felt there could be a small PCL component.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome to hour number 3, our third and final, live right here on the Early Line on SportsGrid. It is a Thursday, and a Thursday in football season means the start of a new NFL week. Week number 2 underway tonight in Miami with a divisional duel in a good one to start the first short week Thursday night football game of the year. It's the Dolphins playing host to the Buffalo Bills. He is Donnie Rightside. I am Ben Stevens. Plenty of breakdowns come your way for Thursday night football in this third and final hour. A few Major League Baseball thoughts on this Thursday as well. One more hour to go up until 11 a.m. Eastern.
Yeah, I love the way the NFL, by the way, Ben, started off the season, right? You had 2 playoff caliber teams, obviously opening night on Thursday last weekend with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens. You had 2 playoff teams for what we thought the Philadelphia Eagles and the Green Bay Packers. Roll that into Sunday night football, the Rams and Detroit, 2 playoff teams there. Monday night football, we expect the Jets and the Niners to get there. And then right back on Thursday night football, you have the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills, 2 teams we expect to get to the playoffs. So fantastic stuff to talk about and a lot of fun tonight because I think those quarterbacks going to throw some touchdown passes tonight.
48.5 is the total we expect if the weather does cooperate. A lot of offense tonight in South Florida. And DRS, that was part of what we had to ask the people out there as they get ready for week number 2 in Miami playing host to Buffalo. What is the best bet for Thursday night football? That was the question to all of you in Fade the Public. At SportsGrid on Twitter, the Fins a home favorite, but less than a field goal, laying 2.5. Buffalo the underdog for what is going to be just the 14th time in the last 4+ seasons, now into week number 2. Total at 48 and a hook, and we like the over or the under. So when it came to the public DRS, people going with the Bills, Dolphins, second amount of the vote, and then 23% on the over of 48 and a hook. 300 votes in the FTP poll to start this Thursday.
Yeah, pretty good. That shows the excitement out there where people are ready for this football game to see how it plays out, and we expect a close game, which is why it's a -2.5 point spread. You take a look at the Buffalo Bills. It's interesting this, too, because for me, it's always been this way. If you are looking to take a game on Thursday night, You start with the home team and you end with the home team. If you don't like the home team, you just move on and try to find some other angles to bet here. So it is interesting to see if the public goes, I don't give a damn about that, Donnie. It's a road team, Buffalo Bills. They're getting points. I think they're the better team, and that's the way they're voting. Now take a look at the over-under. Typically on Thursday night primetime games, it hasn't been a great run of a lot of overs here. Quite frankly, most of these games have been going under, but I also buck that trend a little bit by saying it's early in the season. Depending on the weather tonight, let's just say it doesn't get crazy. Light winds, warm temperatures, and maybe a little rain here or there. That shouldn't affect anything that happens on the field. And again, if this game was week 13 or 14 as opposed to week number 2, that's a completely different story. I believe they can get over the total tonight, so I voted not with the side, but with the total, and I went with the over, which 23% of these votes did as well.
So for the second consecutive week, when we look at the Fade the Public poll, or maybe it was Monday Night Football, I vote with where the public feels at this moment. The Bills plus 2.5. On Monday night, DRS, when we did this with the 49ers and the Jets, I wanted to lay 4.5 with the Niners, dropped to 3.5 by game time with the absence of Christian McCaffrey, and I was like, man, here I am eating the public chalk once again with San Francisco. Did not like the public being on my side. I just think Buffalo is the better team. Frankly, I'm going to bet Buffalo money line tonight over the Dolphins, just how I feel with some injuries to the backfield for Miami. I don't know if the public is necessarily going to sway me at this moment. When the line opened up at 50.5, I really thought to myself, we're going to see some points tonight. Early in the year, short week, sure, the offenses might be a little bit slow, but maybe the defense is not ready to keep pace. Then the weather reports dropped this total by 2, maybe short week Thursday Night Football dropping this total and influencing that number as well. But like you, DRS, I do think we see some offense tonight. Again, the Dolphins in week number 1 against Jacksonville tied for the second highest total of the entire week 1 slate at 49.5. Stayed well under. 20-17. Jacksonville led 17-7 at the break. Did not score again in the final 2 quarters. Miami did rally, but a bunch of field goals in that football game. I do think the Dolphins' offense is a little bit better tonight, even with the injuries to the backfield. And I think Buffalo does enough to push us to an over of 48.5.
Yeah, keep in mind, Jalen Ramsey limited in practice this week as well, the all-pro cornerback here for the Miami Dolphins. And again, you are going to have those bumps and bruises, just not as amplified as what they would be late in the season. And also a key ingredient, too, from those prop betting perspectives. You have to understand this. Raheem Mostert is not going to play tonight. It said they're not going to put him on IR. He'll be back sooner than later. So this might be maybe a multiple-week injury. So now you have to take a look and say, all right, Devon Achane now is going to be a game-time decision. And if anybody doesn't understand what that means an hour and a half to 2 hours before the game, he's going to go on the field and try to run around to see if he can play. Doesn't that tell you right off the bat he's probably not healthy enough to play in this game? And also, if this was a Thursday night football game, which it is, and not a Sunday game, maybe he could play on Sunday. But also, do you want to risk further injuring that ankle to Devon Achane and be down 2 starting running backs for multiple weeks as opposed to 1 week? So something to play into that also, which means much more on the arm of Tua Tagovailoa that we turned off, starting the show, we started to say, or at least myself, I think there's going to be more chances of dropbacks and completions for Tua Tagovailoa than usual. And also, that helps with the touchdown market. These guys are 2 unbelievable running backs in the red zone too, scoring touchdowns, which now won't be there. Is that an Alex Ingold touchdown here that you sneak in from the fullback position? Do you trust Jeff Wilson? Or do you say, you know what, we're not risking this. We're going to throw the football into the end zone, which means more touchdown passes for Tua.
Last week, Jeff Wilson ended up being the Dolphins' leading rusher, 5 carries for 26 yards. Devon Achane had the most rush attempts, 10 of them, the only one in double digits, 24 yards, and did score a touchdown. When I look at this game, though, from a prop perspective, I'm going to look at the second option for the wide receiver in Miami, just because Tyreek Hill's number is already 93.5, which is a little bit ludicrous. I wouldn't recommend betting the under. I just don't really want to bet the top of the market. Jalen Waddle, 65 and a hook, makes a lot of sense to me. I also look at the other running back, DRS, in James Cook. Not necessarily on the ground, but in terms of his receiving yards prop tonight at 18.5. 3 grabs, 32 yards. We discussed this in terms of the talent offensively that Josh Allen has at his disposal. We thought it would be Dalton Kincaid week 1 grab, 11 yards, 2 targets. It was the rookie Keon Coleman, the leading receiver with 51 yards. We talked about the familiarity still with Khalil Shakur, who had 42 yards, 3 grabs, 442 yards, and a touchdown. That connection still is there with James Cook as well. I think those are my 2 favorite props for tonight. Waddle, receiving yards, James Cook, receiving yards as well.
I like James Cook. And also, sometimes it's not so much just about the X's and O's, but what you try to think of how that game plan is going to play out. And it's simple for me sometimes. You saw it last week once again. Josh Allen in a game they absolutely had to win, couldn't go 0-1 against one of the worst teams in football. He had to do everything in his power to win that game, which included 2 touchdown passes, but also 2 athletic running plays to get into the end zone. He actually scored a 3rd touchdown, but got called back, which is insane. You can't have your quarterback doing that. It's one thing, Ben, to do a quarterback sneak from the 1-yard line. It's another to have your guy jumping from the 5-yard line and landing on his head in the end zone repeatedly. Eventually, that's going to take a toll. The reason I bring that up is James Cook, a capable running back, looked great last week. Speed, shifty. Hand him the football in the red zone. It'll work out just fine with touchdowns. So I actually like James Cook tonight on the ground for yardage. And also, more importantly, I think he finds pay dirt because I don't think Joe Brady is going to continue to dial up quarterback keepers on the outside when you can just hand it off to your running back and save your quarterback a lot of wear and tear, particularly, Ben, on a short week.
Yeah, absolutely so. It's part of what the joke was for Josh Allen. 4 total scores, 2 through the air, but 2 calling his own name and finding pay dirt on the ground. And people are like, Josh, you can't be taking those hits. Hand it off to James Cook and let him find pay dirt. Maybe a couple of angry fantasy owners as well. Cook, by the way, over his receiving yards prop of 18 and a hook 9 times last year in the regular season. Plenty more on the early line on a daily basis next.
The Bostonian versus the book.
Would it make you feel better as a bettor or as a sports fan if they said after the game we were trying to cover the script?
Oh, God. To say it out loud? Oh, my God, no.
So what,
to say it out loud? Oh, my God. You can't say that out loud. No, you can't do that.
Okay, so what is the big deal either way?
Oh, play the game the right way.
The Bostonian versus the book.
I feel like the first person to take a kicker in fantasy football is somebody that feels like, man, I had a really bad draft. Let me make sure I get the best kicker. The way I've always looked at it that way. Like, oh, I did so bad, so let me take Justin Tucker.
The key for me is, though, I make marks. Okay, this guy, I'll highlight him because I don't want 3 or 4 of these guys. I draft 3 or 4 of these guys and they all get hurt. I have no one to blame but me.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Ohtani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, reaches, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
Home stretch of this Major League Baseball season, live right here on this Thursday on the early line on SportsGrid. Donnie Rightside is here. I am here, and our MLB insider and the host of Newswire, Craig Mish is here as well. Craig, always glad to have you here on this Thursday. Listen, you're our local correspondent who on Tuesday did mention the weather this week in South Florida expected to be gnarly. We'll get to everything around MLB in just a moment. But down there in the Miami area today, what's the weather looking like ahead of Thursday Night Football?
Oh, it's bad. It's bad. And you know that stadium, Hard Rock Stadium, has an opening in the middle. I know they made it more fan friendly to cover the fans, but not the players. But I would say that field, generally speaking, is A+ in terms of turf over the course of the years, Hard Rock Stadium. So rain is not going to necessarily affect the turf, but it could affect the play. It is supposed to rain tonight, at least for the early part of the game. So maybe first take a look at some first halves. I would say. And also it could affect games in college football this weekend. It's been raining a lot here. FIU plays FAU this weekend in the Shula Bowl. And so that's something to keep an eye on as well.
We will keep an eye on all of it, Craig Mish. We appreciate you not only for your MLB expertise, but your weather as well. But, of course, we must talk a little bit of Major League Baseball here down the home stretch with just about 2.5 weeks remaining. Do not run, walk around all of the daily bases.
Craig!
Although when it comes to running around the base path this year, Shohei Ohtani has been sensational. Last night, Craig, for the Dodgers, avoiding the sweep against the Cubs, Ohtani had a couple of RBIs, a solo home run, and a stolen base. 47 homers, 48 stolen bases. He is 3 home runs and 2 stolen bags away from making an exclusive club around MLB, becoming the first player ever in the history of the sport to have 50 homers and 50 stolen bases in the same season. The Dodgers have 16 games remaining. Will Shohei Ohtani start the 50-50 club in MLB?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's not a matter of if he's going to do it. It's when. And, Ben, wouldn't you know where the Dodgers are next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday? They're right here in my backyard. So I think I'm going to that. Like, I don't think I'm going to. Yeah. I mean, I think I got to catch that in action. So, I mean, if we're looking. Yeah, Southie. Donnie. So it's a little Havana, Donnie. It's a little Havana. Okay,
so
go back to your hoagies. Go back to your hoagies. It's in Little.
There's only one road down there, Craig. It's A1A. It's A1A in South.
It's A1A, right?
South Florida.
You know what? It's funny that you mentioned that. Do you know where that all started? The idea of South Beach and everything else. I mean, it may be too young for you, Ben, but Donnie, you would know. I think. Do you know where it all started?
I know. What, did it start with Vanilla Ice? Like, where did it start down there? When was
Vanilla Ice? Way before that. Way before that. The idea of showing those South Beach and those shots of the video of going, it all started with Miami Vice. That's where it started. Miami Vice in the 80s. That's where it started.
Ice, Miami Vice, close.
Yeah. It should have ended. Exactly. It should have ended there too, honestly. But anyway, so Ohtani, he's 2 steals away from 50. I think he'll probably get that before he comes to Miami next week. But my guess is, Ben, I think he'll probably be sitting on 49 home runs heading here to South Florida. I think I'm going to witness history.
Oh. Heck yeah.
It is. I mean, a 50-50 season is absolutely incredible. And Shohei Ohtani, again, next year is going to add to the mound. Is the next 10 MVPs going to be Shohei Ohtani in the National League? We're certainly going to find out. But also, you take a look at the Atlanta Braves trying to fight for their playoff lives right now. The hits just keep on coming here. Ronaldo Lopez to the IL. It was an elbow before. Now it's shoulder. You're going on the IL mid-September. This is devastating news. But also, Craig, is there a chance he comes back, or is this basically shutting him down the rest of the way?
It doesn't seem optimistic to me at this point when you have a shoulder injury to a pitcher that's forced to go to the injured list. Because, again, if you think about it, he's going to be gone for almost 2 weeks. Then there's a build back up. I mean, if the Braves, Donnie, were to get deep into the postseason, could he come back as a relief pitcher or something along those lines? Yeah, I mean, I guess that's possible. But I got to tell you that the Braves, whatever, I know Braves fans are upset they're not hitting, and that's another story. But if there's ever a season to give a mulligan to a team, it is the Atlanta Braves this year. I don't know any other team where you can lose the best hitter in the league, the best pitcher in the league, and then have all these other issues to injuries and everybody else. And we're talking about Acuna and Strider. The fact that the Braves are still even in this thing is remarkable. Snicker should get Manager of the Year votes. I know that the fans are upset. They have not hit. Riley has not hit the way they thought. Olsen has not hit the way they thought. Harris has not hit the way they thought. I can keep going. I got to give him a mulligan for the year.
Yeah.
When you look at Reynaldo Lopez, even when he was healthy, he didn't go deep into games. He would flirt with the innings requirement to be included in the statistical leaders in MLB. But he has a 2.03 ERA. That would be the best in MLB by a large margin. And the Braves already have the ERA leader and the presumptive National League Cy Young Award winner in Chris Sale. Craig, when we look around MLB on this Thursday, only 8 games. And in terms of that National League wild card race, where the Braves are now a full game behind the Mets for that third and final spot, all of these teams except St. Louis, who is holding on by a thread, are off on this Thursday. But you see who they play this weekend. When we see you next week and on Monday following the weekend, will the National League wildcard standings look any different?
Not much, but I don't think the Cardinals are getting in. So, every other team is alive. Cubs were very good at this point last year. Then they fell apart the last 2 weeks. I'll still keep them alive. But Ben, all those teams that you just listed there outside of St. Louis, I think have a shot.
If we are looking at games tonight here, interesting. Seattle climbing back into the AL West race, which is important for them to pick up a victory. But how about this? Kumar Rocker, the Texas Rangers, making his Major League Baseball debut tonight as an underdog. The expectations for Kumar Rocker for you, Craig, what are they?
Yeah, it's the opposite for me, and I saw 6.5 totals in some places too. And Miller for the who's pitching tonight for Seattle, last 6 starts, 3 different times, no runs, and one other time with 1 run. He is too good. And again, you're backing a rookie pitcher here. I'm never a guy that's laying minus 150 virtually in anything, baseball, football, basketball, so I don't care. But if I had to do it, it would be taking Seattle today.
I like the look, Craig. And thank you for not correcting me on Tuesday when I said Kumar Rocker was making his MLB debut on that evening. And I mixed up my
South
words,
Beach.
and it's actually on this Thursday.
Yeah.
You never know. You never
He's in
know.
South Beach.
Craig will be on South Beach watching the Dolphins tonight. That's for sure. More on the early line next.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Would it make you feel better as a bettor or as a sports fan if they said after the game we were trying to cover the spread?
Oh, God. To say it out loud? Oh, my God, no.
So what,
No, to say it out loud? Oh, my God. You can't say that out loud. No, you can't do that.
Okay, so what is the big deal either way?
Oh, play the game the right way.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
I feel like the first person to take a kicker in fantasy football is somebody that feels like, man, I had a really bad draft. Let me make sure I get the best kicker. The way I've always looked at it that way. Like, oh, I did so bad, so let me take Justin Tucker.
The key for me is, though, I make marks. Okay, this guy, I'll highlight him because I don't want 3 or 4 of these guys. I draft 3 or 4 of these guys and they all get hurt. I have no one to blame but me.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Ohtani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, reaches, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
Both of these rivals walking it off last night. It's where we start our baseball breakdowns on this short Thursday slate. A ton of teams have the day off. Only 8 games on this Thursday, half of them during the afternoon hours, but not in New York tonight in the Bronx on what should be a beautiful evening inside Yankee Stadium. A rivalry renewed between the Yankees and the Red Sox. 8.5 is the total. Although rivals, DRS, New York was rooting for Boston this week in a midweek set against the O's. The Red Sox took 2 of 3 against Baltimore. The Yankees a 1.5 lead as they took the rubber match last night in extra innings against KC in the American League East. What do you like in the opener between these two familiar foes?
I think we can get some runs tonight, and also particularly the Yankees need some runs tonight. Yes, they won last night. They'll take that each and every night, but it hasn't been that explosive Yankees offense that we're used to, and I think they can get back to that tonight. If we're looking at the card, it's a very short card. 14 pitchers, Ben, have pitched over the past 60 days with a minimum of 20 innings pitched. The worst pitcher on the card, that's Cooper Criswell, who's set to take the bump here tonight for the Boston Red Sox. 40 innings over those past 60 days, 4.05 ERA, 5.15 xFIP. That should get him in trouble. But who does he struggle against? He's actually been very good on the season against left-handed batters. So yes, Juan Soto might have a good night. Austin Wells could have a good night here. They're both left-handed batters. We're focusing on those right-handed batters. We talked about the MVP this year. Of course, Aaron Judge, 70 at-bats over the last month, still very good numbers against right-handed pitching. Hasn't had those power numbers that we're so accustomed to, but maybe tonight is a chance where he gets back to it. An RBI prop, my favorite pick of this game, is probably going to be Aaron Judge to record that RBI. We're hunting right-handed batters to go up against Criswell, but I do think we can get over the 8.5, but I'm focused on the Yankees bouncing back at the plate, and that starts with Aaron Judge.
Plus 250 for Aaron Judge to hit a home run. It has now been 15 consecutive games since number 99 in pinstripes has gone deep, tied for the longest drought in his MLB career. He has been stuck on 51. Shohei Ohtani giving him a run for his money when it comes to the home run leader. Plus 250 the number. It was well below $2 when he was on that tear in the middle of August. Again, the Yanks a 1.5 lead in the American League East over the Orioles. Tyler O'Neill been adding it up in the home run and power department for Boston. The Astros, DRS, just a 3.5 game lead over the Mariners right now in the AL West. Houston has dropped 3 straight, including the first 2 of its set at home at H-Town against the Oakland Athletics. Trying to avoid the sweep today, who do you turn to? Framber Valdez, who gets the start today against the A's. You can see the Astros booked as greater than a $2 favorite. Does Houston end their 3-game skid and avoid the sweep today against the Athletics?
Yes, they do. And yesterday, there were 2 RBI guys I loved on the Houston Astros. Neither one of those got an RBI. They ended up losing that game. But I do think a bounce back is in order today. Why? Because it's Framber Valdez on the mound. You take a look at his last 60 days, Ben. A stellar 1.83 ERA and an xFIP of 2.53. That covers 59 innings. He's been nothing short of spectacular. If you look at his last 30 days, ISO against an 0.12, which is microscopic through 96 batters. You take a look at the weighted on base percentage, 171. Strikeouts. How about this? He's a left-handed pitcher. Left-handed bats going up against him past month, 46% strikeout rate. That's astronomically good. You take a look at the Oakland lineup tonight and say, how can they fare? Forget about going up against Framber Valdez, one of the better left-handed pitchers in baseball, just lefties in general. You have Lawrence Butler to lead off at a 308 ISO power number to weighted on base percentage of 440, which is spectacular. After that, just about every single batter in that lineup really struggles with left-handed pitching. Run line for the Houston Astros today. They bounce back in a big way because Framber Valdez is absolutely elite.
I was going to bet that. I was literally going to say bet the run line. Framber Valdez has made 13 starts since the end of June, including his 2 final in that month. The Astros have won 12 of 13. Valdez himself has won 9 of 13. In his last 2 starts, 14 innings of work, 7 in each. He has allowed 2 hits and not a single earned run. I think the Astros avoid the sweep, and I would not lay the heavy juice at minus 240, but minus 1.5 with a much more valuable number. Tarek Skubal, the odds are not even available anymore to win the American League Cy Young Award. If Valdez was pitching like this all year long, maybe, but Skubal and the Tigers also playing good ball. A minus 290 favorite today, DRS, in the Motor City against the Rockies.
It's kind of funny the way you preface it there, because I actually thought maybe the number was taken down because this game will be so easy for the Tigers to win that sportsbooks don't even want to offer the game tonight as how it plays out. Scooble, dominant left-handed pitcher. The one thing we know about the Rockies outside of Colorado, they typically can't hit, and they certainly can't hit left-handed pitchers. I'm going to look for a dominant performance by Scooble. How about a run-line Detroit Tigers today? How about that?
I'm going to sprinkle a little parlay in that bad boy. Prop perspective on this Thursday next.
The Bostonian versus the book.
Would it make you feel better as a bettor or as a sports fan if they said after the game we were trying to cover the spread?
Oh, God. To say it out loud? Oh, my God, no.
So what,
to say it out loud? Oh, my God. You can't say that out loud. No, you can't do that.
Okay, so what is the big deal either way?
Oh, play the game the right way.
The Bostonian versus the book.
I feel like the first person to take a kicker in fantasy football is somebody that feels like, man, I had a really bad draft. Let me make sure I get the best kicker. The way I've always looked at it that way. Like, oh, I did so bad, so let me take Justin Tucker.
The key for me is, though, I make marks. Okay, this guy, I'll highlight him because I don't want 3 or 4 of these guys. I draft 3 or 4 of these guys and they all get hurt. I have no one to blame but me.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Ohtani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, reaches, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes! Are you ready?
Let's go!
That's what champions do.
Thursday night football in Miami. Don't call it South Beach. It's South Florida. It's the Dolphins and the Bills, an AFC East divisional duel to kick off week number 2. SportsGrid's Tom Vecchio here on this Thursday for his prop perspective for TNF. Vecchio, as always, we appreciate the time here on the early line.
Thanks for having me. We are in for an exciting game tonight. Obviously, 2 very good teams. Solid total. I'm a little more encouraged about this over tonight, considering it's early in the season. Both teams are mostly healthy. The lack of health comes from the Dolphins side, which does point me to a few props, but I'm ready to roll.
We'll get the prop perspective in just a moment, but Vecchio, as you do so well through the numbers, what the odds expect the game to look like, the result and the flow, and what it means for the individual. So we start with Miami laying 2.5 at home, total at 48 and a hook. It was north of 50 earlier in the week when this line opened up to start week number 2. What are the numbers telling you about the pace of Thursday night football?
We're in for a good back and forth game, and maybe some of that health, specifically from the Dolphins running back room or lack thereof, is what's causing the total to come down. I think that we're going to see the offenses continue to iron things out. We saw Buffalo start off super slow in week 1, and second half rolls around, they get the offense firing on all cylinders. That's what I think we're in for a bit of tonight. So again, I'm encouraged by the over tonight, and I will continuously say live overs will be my favorite spot to go. If this number drops anywhere to 43 or so, I am jumping all over the live over. Back and forth game is what we should be seeing. I think we are in for, again, expanded offenses from both teams tonight.
Yeah, if we're going to get an over tonight, that means the quarterback's going to play a huge scenario. So let's just start with Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills. We saw him last week in his glory. 2 touchdown passes, 2 rushing touchdown passes, banged up a little bit on his non-throwing hand. What are the expectations tonight for you with Josh Allen?
Josh Allen's going to continue to be, Superman for the Bills. Just do it all. The 244 number is, I want to say, one of the lowest marks I can remember seeing Allen's passing prop. And, maybe that has to do with a new look passing offense for the Bills. And they're trying to, figure things out where maybe it's not as heavy of a passing offense because there's no Diggs, there's no Gabe Davis. So they have to work things out. But the 244 number is something that I'm very encouraged with. And the Tua props overall, I think he's in for a huge game tonight. Again, lack of health when it comes to the Dolphins running back room, we'll dive into more. We've got to remember, Tua led the league in passing last year. So when we're missing key options from their rushing game, let's just turn it over. Let's turn the ball to Tua, and let's just let him air it out. Let's just give it to him, show what he's capable of. So a 300-plus game from Tua wouldn't shock me tonight. I'm not saying that's a bet that I love, but it certainly wouldn't shock me.
338 in the season opener as Miami needed the rally in the second half against Jacksonville. More than 4,600 through the air a season ago, leading the National Football League. Vecchio, you mentioned 300-plus wouldn't shock you, but it's not where you look. 268.5 is the number for Tua Tagovailoa. Where specifically are you targeting the lefty for the Fins?
Yeah, that's going to be with Tua over 33.5 passing attempts. We got to remember, with the lack of health from Raheem Mostert, who's already been listed out, A-Chain is listed as a game-time decision. The ball's going to be in Tua's hands. They run a high rate of plays. If we look back to last year, obviously I'm not just taking the 1-week sample size against the Jags, but a high rate of passing and a high number of plays per game should put the ball in Tua's hands. And if we do see their defense, I should say, kind of get beat up a little bit, as we saw them give up some big plays to Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne and some of those deep balls to Brian Thomas from the Jaguars, that means the Bills are going to be out ahead, and that means we have to see all the passing from the Dolphins, which really should be their strong suit tonight, with Tyreek and Jalen Waddle.
We saw last week, too. It's kind of interesting. The teams going up against the Bills and the Miami Dolphins didn't have a ton of success through the air, but the expectations tonight, those should change. So if we start with the pass catchers tonight, wide receiver and tight end props, obviously we know with the Miami Dolphins, you're not really looking too much towards the tight end position. It's all with their dominant wide receivers in Tyreek Hill and also with Jalen Waddle. And also, as you brought up already, Tom, you're looking at that Buffalo Bills, sort of a work-in-progress type offense, specifically at the wide receiver position. What are some props we're looking at from either side? Buffalo Bills pass catchers and or Miami Dolphins pass catchers?
Let's start off simple with a Waddle TD. He didn't score last week, which I love. I love being on players after they haven't scored. And this is just a simple offensive usage thing. We can essentially look back at what the Dolphins did last year and take a large portion of that moving forward into this year, because it's essentially the same pass catching group. He had the second highest target share in the team last year, up at 23.4%. He was third on the team in red zone target share at 14.8. Number one was, of course, Tyreek Hill. Number two is actually Odell Beckham Jr., but we know that OBJ is out. So we're looking at Waddle as the number two option. And then on the other side, Keon Coleman, over 19.5 for the longest reception. And this might be a bit of a stretch, but I also think this is a buy low spot. Again, Gabe Davis, Steph Diggs, no longer with the Bills. Last year, Steph Diggs had a 15.4 A-dot average depth of target. Gabe Davis was at 27. They're missing those pieces. Now, MVS had a 27.5 A-dot in week one. It's just a small sample size. But if he takes over that Gabe Davis role, the intermediate role could be filled by Keon Coleman. And if that's going to be the case, that 19.5 number could move up to 20, 21.5, 22.5 when we saw Keon Coleman with 11.5 air yards per reception in week one. So this might be a buy low spot. Like, they drafted him for a reason after they traded Diggs, and they need him to fill this role. So 15-yard catch a few yards after, we hit the over easy.
A big play threat, a downfield receiver in college, first at Michigan State and then, of course, at FSU. Last week, Buffalo's leading receiver, 4 grabs on 5 targets for 51 yards. His longest reception, 28 yards, in fact, over this number. So let's flash it just so everybody sees it once again. Tom's Thursday night football props that he loves tonight. There it is. Tua Tagovailoa, over 33.5 attempts. Jalen Waddle, anytime TD, plus 170. And Keon Coleman, in his second career NFL game, over 19.5 yards for his longest grab. Vecchio, I believe it was a plus 170 number on Xavier Worthy last week that also came through to find the end zone, plus 170 for Jalen Waddle. Before we go to your overall outlook for Buffalo and Miami this season, I do want to ask about James Cook, somebody I am optimistic about in terms of his receiving yards prop tonight, factoring in to Buffalo's offensive scheme. He's one of the familiar faces for Josh Allen in this new look offense. How do you see James Cook's role developing in this Bills offensive game plan throughout the season?
I think he's going to be one of the most consistent betting options, not for the Bills, but overall in the league. We know like the chemistry that they developed last year is very solid. He's that safety net to check down to. He's going to have, I'm going to say, 19 to 24 combined touches on a game-by-game basis. And what we saw from King Bigsby again and Travis Etienne last week, one game sample size, James Cook can absolutely replicate. So over 18 and a half, I think it is for his reception prop. Absolutely love that. If we see Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle break off a big 60-yard touchdown, it's not going to shock anyone. The Bills are immediately going to be pushed into this passing game script. And just given the ambiguity that we have when it comes to the Bills' overall pass-catching volume, there is a huge role for James Cook to grab because, again, Cam Coleman, I think he's a great talent and has his upside, but ultimately he's still a rookie. MVS isn't as consistent. Dalton Kincaid didn't get involved in week one, so I am all aboard James Cook this year.
Amen. And also take a look at James Cook. And a lot of people on the SportsGrid network backing Cook. I think he scores a touchdown tonight, has a decent usage rate, and away we go. Tom, before we let you go, let's take a look here at the AFC East odds because tonight, entering into the competition, plus 180 on either side to win this division. Of course, somebody's going to get a leg up if they win tonight. My question to you, the loser of tonight's game, you buying back in right away at a better price, or you just ride with the favorite?
I would absolutely buy back in at a better price. I think this is going to be a coin flip between these two teams in the division. Yep. The Jets, they're not going to win the division. Can they compete for a wild card? Sure, but the loser of this, I think they have the skill to win. And frankly, I'd be a little bit more interested if Miami loses and buying back into them than Buffalo.
For sure. Plus 180 for both co-favorites in this divisional duel. In this division entering tonight. You will see both of the gentlemen to my left on the SportsGrid airwaves this evening. TV on TV. That's what Donnie says for Tom Vecchio, getting you set for Thursday Night Football and DRS during the in-game live component. More best bets next.
The Bostonian versus the book.
Would it make you feel better as a bettor or as a sports fan if they said after the game we were trying to cover the spread?
Oh, God. To say it out loud? Oh, my God, no.
So what,
to say it out loud? Oh, my God. You can't say that out loud. No, you can't even. You can't do that.
Okay, so what is the big deal either way?
Oh, play the game the right way.
The Bostonian versus the book.
I feel like the first person to take a kicker in fantasy football is somebody that feels like, man, I had a really bad draft. Let me make sure I get the best kicker. The way I've always looked at it that way. Like, oh, I did so bad, so let me take Justin Tucker.
The key for me is, though, I make marks. Okay, this guy, I'll highlight him because I don't want 3 or 4 of these guys. I draft 3 or 4 of these guys and they all get hurt. I have no one to blame but me.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Ohtani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, reaches, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
Thursday Night Football kicks off week number 2 of this 2024 NFL season tonight in Miami between the Dolphins and the Bills. He is Donnie Right Side. I am Ben Stevens. Before Donnie goes to the money line, and of course you'll see him tonight on In Game Live. What are they calling it? NFL Football In Game Live Game Day for you, Kevin Walsh, and Joe
whatever you
Lisi
want it to be.
all together.
By the way, you want a good story about this quickly on that? You want a good story about this too? So
always.
Kevin's mic was a little bit jacked up. So like, Donnie, we got to have you take it in. So thank goodness there was the boards behind me. So as I brought it in, I had to read the show's name just like this and then welcome the audience back in. So how do you like that? A little behind the scenes action. That's being a pro right there. Use all of the technology to your advantage, people, when you're on the air. Mm-hmm.
Listen, I had no doubt that you would do that successfully and be very prepared to host the show that you are on. All right, let's dive into the numbers for Thursday Night Football. 2.5-point spread in favor of the Dolphins at home. The over-under 48.5. Donnie, from an odds perspective and just with the spread and the total telling us, this should be a highly competitive, high-scoring game tonight to start off week number 2. Should be a joy to watch if the numbers follow what we see tonight in the actual game.
Yeah, and also, like on the last primetime game we had, which was Monday Night Football, we did get some shocking news before the game, which Christian McCaffrey was not going to play. Jordan Mason was in. Oh, my goodness, how can they survive? Jordan Mason looked every bit as good as Christian McCaffrey, which is wild, and the 49ers rolled. The reason I bring that up tonight is we already have one of the running backs knocked out, Raheem Mostert, but you could get that, hey, guys, an hour and a half before the game, the inactives are out. Devon Achane is not going to play in this game. Welcome into Jeff Wilson. So if you are a betting man and you think that information is correct, maybe you're going to act on those impulses here. And also, we're looking at the opening numbers here. Last week, Ben, 51.5 this total for Thursday Night Football between Buffalo and Miami at the FanDuel Sportsbook. Now we're down to 48.5. Let's see where that winds up by game time. And so astutely here, we're starting to talk about some of the weather conditions in Miami because nothing's worse than sitting on an over and getting some terrible weather. Now, also, if you're buying into that with a chance and you watch a game like it didn't rain all night and end up scoring 55-plus points, well, that's sort of the downtrodden part of that. Sometimes you're taking a guess on the weather. But if we are looking at the odds itself, Ben, -1.5 is the opening number, now sitting at 2.5. Let's see where that goes by game time, because I don't think they can afford to put that game at a +3. Everybody would start to bet the Buffalo Bills at that point. But we are expecting a clean game tonight. As long as the weather holds off, I do expect points, and I think this game does go over the total.
So, DRS, I want to follow up by asking, do you think the number is dropped under 50 now to 48.5 because of weather reports of some nasty weather this week in South Florida, or because maybe more influenced by our first short week Thursday Night Football game, albeit in the second week of the year?
That, too, and also Thursday Night Football games, prime time, haven't worked out all that well. And also, you're taking a look at this. These aren't two teams that don't know each other. Like, oh, we're going to be surprised. This is a division game that means a ton early in the season. And theoretically, they usually stay at a slower tempo / slower price. But I just look at the two quarterbacks and offenses in high gear early. It's hard to say, and sometimes you use it simply. On Monday Night Football, I thought both teams could approach the 20s, which is why I like the over. Well, the Jets didn't get to the 20s, but the 49ers scored much more. Do you honestly believe this game is going to be in the fourth quarter, 17-14-ish between these two ball clubs? I don't think so. If I think both of these teams can get into the 20s, therefore, how can I be betting the under and saying, I hope I get lucky in the fourth quarter? No, they should move the football.
Our local weather correspondent in Miami, Craig Mish, saying the weather is bad. I think if you see tonight, though, as the rain is supposed to ease up, the winds calm down as well, and wind a huge factor, especially for the two offenses that we will see tonight, quarterbacked by Josh Allen and Tua Tagovailoa. If it's not nearly as bad weather condition-wise by the time we get to kick tonight, 8:15, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, what Vecchio mentioned, that live total, if it drops a little bit, to go back up is a great look. Let's talk those quarterback comparisons as of this moment. Josh Allen, 244 and a hook, injured his left hand, his non-throwing hand last week. There was a thought, short week, would he be ready? He will be set to go. Tua Tagovailoa, 268 and a half. He threw for 338 last week against Jacksonville in the second half comeback. DRS, as you compare the quarterbacks, which name you looking for tonight? Which props you looking at?
Yeah, I love the over 1.5 touchdowns for each one of these quarterbacks. And again, you sort of get that extra. Like Raheem Mostert's a very good red zone runner, and so is Devon Achane. If they're both banged up, which means one is already out, one could possibly be out, maybe it's just more passing attempts in the red zone, which is a great thing. And also, playing off that same sort of thing, last week my favorite bet of the week was going up against a bad defense in Arizona, was Josh Allen to throw 1.5 touchdown passes or more, and he did that. Now, he threw 2, but he also ran 2 in. A little bit more banged up. I just figure that if you're going to hand the football off, it's going to be to a running back as opposed to handing it off to yourself as a quarterback, theoretically. I like James Cook there to score an anytime touchdown, but I do think my favorite wagers are going to come from the quarterback positions. I see multiple touchdown passes tonight, and that's going to be a heavy part of my angle.
Josh Allen threw 2 in week number 1, also ran in 2 scores, 39 yards on the ground. His rushing yards prop around that price at 37.5. Tua Tagovailoa, only 1 touchdown toss to Tyreek Hill on an 80-yard play. You probably would expect some more. Again, Tua for the first 5 games last year for the NFL's leading passer in 2023 over this number of 268.5. Like you, DRS, I'm keyed in on James Cook. His receiving yards prop already on the rise from 18 and a hook to 19 and a half. He had 3 grabs for 32 yards. Plenty of talented offensive pieces tonight in this game on either side. For Buffalo, it's a new look offensive roster. For Miami, although the injuries to the running back room will be important to pay attention to. No Raheem Mostert, already ruled out tonight. What will Devon Achane's status be by the time we reach kick? Could we see Jeff Wilson, who had 26 yards on the ground last week? We know the same cast and crew in the wideout room. Tyreek Hill first, Jalen Waddle second.
Yeah, and also, you're taking a look at the Buffalo Bills, like, are we going to see anything out of Curtis Samuel in this game? Also, we know at the FanDuel Sportsbook, we have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle listed with their passing receiving yards. The only other pass catcher listed for the Dolphins is Jonnu Smith. Maybe they can pop up their little Braxton Berrios later today for maybe 15, 16, 20 yards receiving at this point. We have a lot of options here tonight. We're looking at a lot of points. It means a lot of fun will be had by all, BSS.
Fun to be had on this Thursday on the money line as well. DRS, enjoy it. And NFL football in-game live game day tonight alongside OK Dubs and Joe Lisi. DRS, I guess I'll talk to you on Monday. It's kind of sad. Have a great weekend, man. Talk again next week. Nature of the game. Great college football slate on this Thursday next.
The Bostonian versus the book.
Would it make you feel better as a bettor or as a sports fan if they said after the game we were trying to cover the spread?
Oh, God. To say it out loud? Oh, my God, no.
So what,
to say it out loud? Oh, my God. You can't say that out loud. No, you can't even. You can't do that.
Okay, so what is the big deal either way?
Oh, play the game the right way.
The Bostonian versus the book.
I feel like the first person to take a kicker in fantasy football is somebody that feels like, man, I had a really bad draft. Let me make sure I get the best kicker. The way I've always looked at it that way. Like, oh, I did so bad, so let me take Justin Tucker.
The key for me is, though, I make marks. Okay, this guy, I'll highlight him because I don't want 3 or 4 of these guys. I draft 3 or 4 of these guys and they all get hurt. I have no one to blame but me.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Ohtani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, reaches, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
Well, welcome back to this Thursday as we round out our show together on the early line on SportsGrid. Of course, Thursday night football is in the National Football League, and it's a great start to our second week of this regular season in Miami between the Dolphins and the Bills. But might I just add, always pay attention to what the college football slate looks like on a Thursday. And this one is darn good. And maybe the best game of the weekend is not tonight, maybe not even Saturday, it's Friday. What a day it's already been in college football with the news of the rebirth and the realigned Pac-12. The additions of Boise State, Colorado State, San Diego State, and Fresno State starting in 2026. The six-pack just 2 schools away from becoming a true FBS member conference once again starting in 2 years. Arizona State, former member of the Pac-12, travels to San Marcos, Texas tonight to take on G.J. Kinney in the Texas State Bobcats. I am very excited for this football game. Arizona State, a perfect 2-0 this season. Same story for Texas State. But ASU, a perfect 2-0 against the number. They beat Mississippi State last week in Tempe for their first win over an SCS school in program history. They gave up just 24 yards on the ground on 27 carries from the Bulldogs, only allowed a Wyoming team that was supposed to dominate in the trenches, at least as I thought, to just 40 yards week number 1. The Sun Devils right now, one of 9 FBS teams to cover in both games as a favorite this year. One of 3 to do so against an FBS opponent in both games. And keep an eye tonight on Cam Scattaboo, the running back for Arizona State. 33 carries last week against Mississippi State for 262 yards. Also had 3 grabs for 35 yards, the leading receiver for ASU. When you look at his numbers tonight, as they start to trickle out on the FanDuel Sportsbook, rushing plus receiving, they're out there for Scattaboo, 126.5. Listen, it's a hefty price. It might make sense. Ishmael Mahdi on the other side for Texas State, 94.5. Now to the Bobcats. Last year in year number 1 with G.J. Kinney as their head coach. G.J. Kinney, a name you might remember from his days as a quarterback at Tulsa in the late aughts. That's around 2009. Played in the National Football League for a few years. Texas State was 8-5 last year in year number 1. Their first time with more than 7 wins, 7 or more wins, in fact, in more than a decade as a Sun Belt team. And this year, off to a 2-0 start. Jordan McLeod, who was the quarterback last year at James Madison, now plays in San Marcos, and they whooped on UTSA last week, 49-10, in a game the odds makers expected to be much closer. Texas State was only a 2.5-point favorite. They won that game by 39, and McLeod had 309 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and 2 rushing scores as well. When I look at the total tonight, I would lean to the over of 60.5. Again, I look at Cam Scattaboo for what he is going to do in terms of his overall scrimmage yards, and keep an eye on the passing yards prop. Jordan McLeod, 248.5. Sam Levitt, the young Michigan State transfer for the Sun Devils, has been pretty consistent under Kenny Dillingham this year. Tomorrow night, another great game. It's one of 2 ranked versus ranked matchups that we have in week number 3. I know yesterday on the early line they talked about the only one on Saturday, Boston College and Missouri, the 24th ranked Eagles on the road in Columbia against the 6th ranked Tigers. How about this one? 14th ranked Kansas State host number 20 Arizona. Line north of a touchdown tomorrow night in the Little Apple. That is Manhattan, Kansas. Interesting. Arizona last year, best cover team as an underdog in all of college football. Frankly, the best cover team in the country, 11-2 against the spread. But as a dog, 6-0 against the number, covering by an average margin of more than 17 points per game. But this year, Arizona, a favorite in both. They are 0-2 against the spread. Same story for K-State. They have not covered in either of their first 2 games as a favorite. Last week on the road in New Orleans, gave up nearly 500 yards of total offense to Tulane. And Darian Mensah had 340 yards and 2 touchdowns against that K-State secondary. We'll talk a little bit more about that game tomorrow because your natural look should be Noah Fafita and Tetaroa McMillan for Arizona. So much good football, and it starts on this Thursday night throughout the entirety of the weekend. The early line returns tomorrow on a Football Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern time here on the SportsGrid.